This is the DeLozier Show, and you're listening to Season 1, The Murder of Linda Madison, and I am your host, DeLozier. Before we begin, a content warning. This episode discusses gun violence, suicide, and the trauma of loss. Some of the content may be upsetting, especially to those who have experienced grief or violence. If you or someone you know needs support, help is available by calling or texting 988. For domestic violence help, you can call 1-800-799-7233 or text START, S-T-A-R-T, to 88788. In our last episode, we walked through the courtroom. We heard testimony. We felt the tension as the jury reached its verdict. Guilty of first-degree murder. Joe Brooks was 19. Linda Madison was just 18. This episode, we turn the page. What happened after the trial? What did the appeal say? And how did Joe Brooks go from convicted killer to a fugitive? This is the episode Echoes of a Verdict. On April 9th, 1975, the jury came back with a unanimous decision after just 3.5 hours of deliberation. Joseph William Brooks was guilty of first-degree murder. By law, that meant a life sentence. But in 1975, life didn't always mean what it sounds like. A person sentenced to life could be eligible for parole in as little as 12 to 15 years with good behavior. Brooks was led out of the courtroom by sheriff's deputies. He showed no emotion. His attorneys, however, weren't finished. Brooks's attorneys quickly filed motions for a new trial, citing more than 11 reasons, including alleged irregularities in the trial, misconduct by the prosecution, a claim that some evidence shouldn't have been allowed, that the defense hadn't been permitted to present manslaughter as a viable alternative. But Judge Bruce Hanson stood by the trial. He denied the request for a new trial, and he denied bail, stating that someone convicted of first-degree murder was a threat to the community. So Joe Brooks remained in custody, but even that wouldn't last. Brooks was transferred to the Washington State Correction Center in Shelton, Washington, to await his appeal. He had turned 20 years old. He was small, only 5'6", 140 pounds, with blonde hair, green eyes, and a tattoo of a knife on his stomach. On December 18th, 1975, he vanished. He was nowhere to be found in the Shelton prison. The details were embarrassing for prison officials. Brooks had crafted a dummy and left it in his bed. He slipped out unnoticed. By the time guards realized he was gone, hours had passed. Joseph Brooks, convicted of murdering his pregnant ex-girlfriend, was on the loose. A statewide manhunt was launched. Descriptions were circulated. A killer was on the run, but not for long. On December 23rd, just 5 days after his escape, Brooks was found in Yakima. He was arrested at gunpoint as he left a house on West Meade Avenue, not far from where he had killed Linda several months before. He offered no resistance. Just 2 days before he was recaptured, the Washington State Court of Appeals upheld his conviction. The court rejected claims that Brooke hadn't had a fair trial. They reaffirmed what the jury had found, that Joseph Brooks went to Arlene Martin's home that night, armed with a rifle and a plan, that he confessed repeatedly, and that his story later that Linda had shot herself was not credible. The appeals were exhausted. The trial was over, and Brooks would remain behind bars. This was not the end of Linda's story, because stories like Linda's just don't disappear. They echo in families, in communities, in records and memoirs, and in podcasts like this one. A lost life, a verdict reached, an escape, and a return. This part of the story may be complete, but questions remain. Could anything have prevented Linda's death? How do we remember victims when the headlines fade? What responsibility do we have to tell these stories? Next time, we revisit the case one last time. We'll reflect on its impact. We'll explore the broader questions it raises about violence, justice, and memory. Until then, this is The DeLo Show. This is The DeLo Show, written, produced by me, Ryan DeLozier. Music, editing, all that stuff is just me sitting here with a MacBook and a mixing board. Special thanks to Yakima Valley Libraries and those preserving those stories that matter. Thank you for listening. If you or someone you know is in crisis, help is available. For mental health or suicide support, call or text 988 anytime. For domestic violence help, call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START, that's S-T-A-R-T, to 88788. You are not alone, and you are not without options. I know.